This is Tech Talk with your host, Tom Dioria.
Welcome back to IMI's Tech Talk on KFNX AM 1100. I'm Tom Dioria. It's March 6, 2016. I mentioned to you before the break, we have interesting topics for you today, smart homes. Guest Stephan Sardone is the CEO of Sardone Construction, a highly specialized contender in the industry that sets itself apart by providing clients with a personalized consultation from project's inception to completion. As experts of the smart design process, implements creative uses of space and energy. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. I think we're going to have a really interesting discussion tonight.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, so let's start at the basics at the beginning here. Can you define a smart home? Now, every time that we come back from CES, we talk about technologies that are coming along that I guess would fit into a house that's smart. But what's your definition? Yeah, what's a smart home?
I define a smart home as one that has creative use, space, and energy. Energy obviously being energy efficient, how energy is used, whether that's energy in, your cooling and your heating, or energy in just how everything's put together. Is your TV and your radio and your music and everything else? Do you need 16 remotes, or can you control it from your phone or just your voice? And then obviously the creative use of space. Do you need 5,000 square foot when 3,000 will do? Do you need 3,000 when 1,500 square feet will do? Is the floor plan, the layout, and how everything was thought out done in the most efficient manner? Because obviously it's cheaper to air-condition 1,500 square foot than 3,000 square foot.
It's not necessarily smart because you have high level of technology in the house. It's a smart design to make efficient use of what you have in the house. Is that a correct summary?
Absolutely. It's threefold. It's energy efficient, it's how the technology is used, and it's the layout of the home.
Okay, I want to get into the layout. I understand the smaller the footprint, the less energy you need. But is this a new thing? Have people been doing these three items for years, even before technology was technology, or is this something that's new?
I would hesitate to say that it's not new. I think people are more aware of it and are more conscious about it these days than they have in the past. I think, we're kind of in a resurgence where architecture and design is something that, everyday people are now thinking about and they appreciate. Not that it hasn't, I think for the entire housing industry was birthed out of builders who provided basically people who were coming home from the war a home that they can afford. They weren't trying to make it beautiful. They weren't trying to make it efficient. They were just simply trying to build a home. And I think people have been thinking that way for a very long time, and only people who really had a lot of cash could consider other options. But in the last decade, we have everyday people able to consider this and figure out how they can make their home smarter. Some of it is because they see it on HGTV, and a lot of it, I think, is because there's just so much technology and information available that is now very affordable. A home entertainment system that was controllable from one device in the past used to cost $100,000. Well, now you can download the app and DIY the rest of it, and you can get almost the same thing. So it's just in general, there's a lot more knowledge and awareness, and it's a lot more accessible.
Okay, so you did mention that these days it's not just for wealthy people, but let's go back to the first item that you mentioned. If you're designing a house for somebody, I gather you have a lot more flexibility in terms of making it a smart home. Does the same thing apply to either retrofitting an older house, or are you stuck with what you?
that's the great thing about remodeling. Even remodeling, in my opinion, generally is smarter than building it new because you're repurposing so much. There's so little waste versus scraping the house and building all new construction. You know, when you are remodeling or retrofitting, a lot of times you are putting holes in walls, you're changing out electrical pieces, or you're adding things, and it's very easy to add these things in. Sometimes it's as simple as just pulling out an old window and putting in a new one. Sometimes it's simple by just having special cable and data drops that connect your home in such a way where everything can be connected through your phone. And sometimes it's more extensive where you do need to gut certain portions of the home to put in much, much, much better insulation. But sometimes it's easy to do better insulation in the roof because you just pull out all the other stuff and then spray foam the ceiling. So I think the short answer is there's varying degrees of how you can make your home smarter, and not all of them involve a complete remodel.
Okay, so let's now switch gears and go back to the other side. I'm building a house. I gather I don't necessarily need to, have a super high-end house, but don't most people that do have money want big houses?
Yes and no, I think. I think there's two things about big houses. A lot of times when you build your own house, it's instantaneously worth more than you paid, than it cost you to build it. So the more square footage you build, the more, in a sense, your investment is worth, the more you make. A lot of people do want a big, nice house, but I think, we have a lot of clients who are regular and a lot of clients who I would say are in the 1%, and it's not necessarily about a big house as much as it's about a good and appropriate house. Not everybody who has the money or means to build a 10,000 square foot house does, I would say.
Okay, and people are looking nowadays at the efficiency of building a house rather than just the size and trying to impress the neighbors.
I think there's two ways about that. You're always going to, it's human nature, you always want to impress the neighbors. So you either impress them with the size or you impress them with how smart it is. Maybe both. Maybe you did build a 10,000 square foot house, but you built it so smart that the energy bill is the same as that of a house a third that size. Or it's just that much easier to work. Or you do build one a lot smarter and you can make it a lot more custom, which is where I generally encourage people to think about. Don't build bigger, build better. If you only have so much of a budget to work with, use it all into building the exact house you need and want, and spend that extra money making it smarter and more custom rather than spending all that extra money on a lot of extra square footage that you don't really need.
That's a really good suggestion. We're going to have to take a break. I'd like to go back to the $100,000 remote control when we come back. Tom DiOrio, we're on IMI's Tech Talk on KFNX AM 1100. It's the 6th of March, 2016, and we're talking to Stephan Sardone about smart homes. We're going to get into a little bit about the technology when we come back. Switch gears again and back to the actual construction. So please stay tuned. We're going to be right back after these messages. Welcome back to IMI's Tech Talk on KFNX AM 1100. I'm Tom DiOrio. It's the 6th of March, 2016. Talking to Stephan Sardone about smart homes. And during the first segment, you mentioned that one of the things that's making this a little easier and more affordable is the price of technology to make a smart home is coming down. And you mentioned a single remote for all the technology in the house, some of the technology, just the TV.
Well, the technology is practically free. You can buy pretty much any TV off the shelf,
You probably already have an iPhone or a smartphone, and then it's just a matter of getting things wired. But you can connect your whole home. You can connect your lights. You obviously have to buy different lights, but they're not that much more expensive than anything else. And you know, if you had motorized shades, if you even your kitchen appliances, which again, if you're buying appliances, you're gonna have to spend a little more if you want them a little smarter. But basically, from your phone, you can set your alarm. You can turn the TV on. You can change you can put on your favorite music station. You can dim the lights. You can change the color of the lights if your bulbs allow that. Or even, you know, there's geofencing. You can set your whole house to do a certain thing when you leave the house or when you come home. Maybe when you leave the house, based on the geofencing program you set up on your phone, which was free, your alarm immediately gets turned on, the shades go down, the lights dim, and the air conditioning, you know, pops down a couple degrees just to save energy. And it knows that when you come home, you want everything back up. That sort of automation used to be astronomical. And now someone who's fairly handy in DIY could buy the components online easily and affordably, and then just download the app and set all that up. Obviously, if it were me, I'd pay somebody to set it up so I don't have to deal with it, but one could do it on their own extremely affordably.
So give us an idea of, to me it sounds very technical and also sounds very expensive. Are we talking affordably in the thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, hundreds?
I mean, well under. If you already have the TV, you're talking about replacing some light bulbs, and you're talking about connecting your TV to your computer, and you already have all these components. It's more of buying a few more pieces and then spending a couple hours making sure you're familiar with all of it. So under $1,000, and you can have a lot of this automation. Obviously, if you're adding motorized shades, those are going to be probably $1,500 per shade. And if you don't already have a security system, you're going to have that installed. But usually that's free as long as you sign a contract with these companies, and they'll throw in a lot of this equipment for free in order to get you to sign up for 3 years.
Oh, so you're saying basically I can control all of this from my phone now?
Yes.
I know you could do a thermostat, and I knew you could, look at your cameras in your house on your phone, but it sounds like everything is now having an app associated with it?
It could be. How it would work is you generally need some sort of home base, if you will, that connects with certain pieces. So an app won't just turn on any old light. You have to put a bulb in it that will connect with your phone, or you have to have a lamp or something where it doesn't matter what the bulb is, but the lamp itself talks to your phone, or it talks to this other base in the house. And so everything's kind of connected to that, and you can just look on your phone and like I said, toggle and adjust everything, speaker volume, dimming of lights.
Do these new thermostats like Nest and stuff really work? And do you find that they work both remotely and that they do, in fact, provide savings?
Yes, but you also have to understand how they work and how to, while they're smart, you also have to be smart in how you use them. For instance, and a lot of times people buy these because they want to set it up once and they don't ever want to touch it again. The Nest thermostat, for instance, really operates based on movement. So if you put that thermostat in a hallway where there's not a lot of movement, or let's say you have a kid living at home and then they go off to college for 6 months, it's used to that kid walking by that thermostat in the hall all the time, so it knows it needs to be kicked on. Well, when the kid stops walking down the hall because they're at college, it thinks no one's ever home, so it's always changing the temperature to the most energy-efficient temperature. So it's hotter in the summer and colder in the winter. But if you're aware of that, then you can adjust it and you can play with the settings, and then you can really get even more out of it than I would say the typical person. But it's for the person. You can just set it up and it'll do its thing and it'll save you money. But if you play with it and learn a little bit more about these things, they'll save you even more money.
Now, do you recommend people try this on their own, or you mentioned yourself that you would bring somebody in probably to program it. Are these all do-it-yourself things for the most part, or do you really need a concentrated effort to look, because I think you said this at the beginning, to take an overall look at everything that you need to get done and try and do it in one shot so it becomes more efficient, more cost-effective? Is that a good way of looking at it?
It depends on a couple of things. If you're just going to do one light or one thermostat and you feel like you're pretty handy already, you know yourself, you can do basic household maintenance items, go for it. Knock yourself out. If you know that you're not handy or you don't have the patience to fool around with stuff, then definitely hire somebody. Or if you think, you know what, I don't want to just do this one little piece at a time. I'd really like to see what are all my options, or I'd like to see how much of this we can accomplish, then yes, definitely bring in a professional. They're going to make it a lot easier for you. And probably with people who generally DIY projects work out so that you do it yourself and you spend a lot of money and spend a lot of time, and then you have to pay somebody to fix it anyway. So if you feel like you might be in that category, just
well, that would be my case, I'll tell you.
Cut the headache out.
But have you found if people do set these things up right with the right light bulbs and the right settings on the thermostat and the correct use of their phones, that they do save money and the return on investment is there?
Absolutely. If they do set them up right, yes. And a lot of them, the thermostats, you can save money and you can set that up yourself. But you can save more money if you really know how to work it and you make sure that somebody helps you set it up. Some of this stuff, it's smart and it's fun and it's easy to set up, but if you're going to go for kind of the whole home package or do something that is going to require a lot more technicality, the last thing you want to do is set up all this stuff but not really understand how to work it really well, because then you're going to spend more time being frustrated that this stupid smart stuff is too difficult to use. And your wife's going to tell you to get rid of it because she can't ever use it. So, if you're going to go that route, again, I might suggest someone hires someone to come in and make sure they understand how to use it. And
now, you mentioned security systems as well, and they give you most of the stuff. Do they set it up for you too?
Yeah, absolutely. When you do it through a security company, they'll obviously do all the install. Their techs are there to show you how everything works. And then, in my experience, they are very happy to help you over the phone or in any way or come back out. So, and that's more a function of the individual security company that's in the area that's actually selling you the contract and helping you with the service on a local level, versus they're additionally selling you into a much bigger security system, that's national.
Okay, we're going to take a break. I want to talk a little bit more about some other technologies and also talk about remodeling and find out what Sardone Construction is all about. This is Tom DiOrio. We're on IMI's Tech Talk on KFNX AM 1100. We're speaking with Stephan Sardone about smart homes. It's the 6th of March, 2016. The year is just moving along. Please stay tuned. We're going to be right back after these messages. Welcome back to IMI's Tech Talk on KFNX AM 1100. It's 6th of March 2016. I'm Tom DiOrio, and we're talking to Stephan Sardone about smart homes. In the intro, I mentioned that you're the CEO of Sardone Construction. Tell us a little bit about Sardone Construction.
We're located in Dallas, Texas. We're a remodeling and design build remodeling company. I've been doing this since 2001, and we kind of had a small business for a while and then kind of relaunched in 2010. And it's a lot of fun and a wild ride, and we've been riding the economy up with it as well. And we get to meet a lot of really great people. And as you mentioned, we do specialize in the smart design and smart technology, so we get to do a lot of fun projects and get to work with a lot of people who are very energy conscious and concerned about their footprint. And so, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. The design's fun, the clients are fun, the people we get to work with. We feel very blessed that we're in such an enjoyable industry that we feel is sustainable and promoting sustainability.
What's your website in case our listeners want to check you out a little bit more?
SardoneConstruction.com. It's SARDONE construction.com.
Okay, so let's change gears a little bit and talk about remodeling. I gather that you do remodeling and you also do, complete construction jobs. But let's talk a little bit about both what you recommend when you're remodeling somebody's house and how you focus on energy, since that seems to be a primary focus when you do these things.
Every client is different. Their needs are different. Their house is different. Their budget is different. Their lifestyle is different. And so when I'm meeting people for the first time, some of the things that we are always going to talk about are our goals and priorities. And goals I define as they're the intangible things that the clients want to make sure happen. They don't necessarily know how to tell me how to make it happen, but they want to make sure they happen. The intangibles would be like, I want to reduce my carbon footprint. I want to make sure we're as energy efficient as possible. I want to build a kitchen that I can entertain in because me and my spouse love to cook. I want an island that I can prep on, we have wine dinners, and we want to make sure that we design a space so that those dinners work out, or our friends are embarrassed to have our children are embarrassed to have their friends over because of our family room, and we want to make sure that it's bright and fun and inviting, and that our kids' friends want to hang out here. And so, or we like to read, or we hate watching TV, or whatever it is. Things that, as we're thinking about the design, we want to make sure that if people are going to invest the time and money into this project, that these intangibles are met. And then we talk about priorities. Everybody's got a list of priorities, most important, and, things they won't compromise on, things they will, things they don't know about. So when we're consulting, we're trying to really understand, we're trying to put ourselves in their shoes, but with our expertise, so that we can come up with a solution that meets their needs and their budget.
Okay, so it sounds like that since you've been doing this for a while, you have a good handle on it, and I gather, we talked about this a little bit before, that there are ways to do this where it's not going to cost a fortune, but will save people in the long run. One of the questions that we had for you is, can you tell us about geofencing? I don't know what that is, but my producer gave me this, and how does that relate to what you do?
Geofencing, I should have a definition like that I could rattle off, but I don't. But geofencing is where technology is used in relation to your proximity, like GPS, right? So if you got your phone open and you're looking at Google Maps and you're following the directions, it's tracking where you are, exactly, your longitude, latitude, right? And it's saying, oh, you just passed this street, or you're coming up to this street, turn left in 100 yards, because it knows where you're at. So just the way your GPS device uses geofencing to help you know where to go, and if you turn wrong, to help you get back on course because it knows where you're at, the way that would be used in smart home technology would be you set it up so that when you are within 500 yards of the house, your garage door turns on, or your front porch light turns on, or your alarm turns off, or your front door unlocks, or the certain window shades open up, certain lights open up, the air conditioning gets kicked back on another 3 degrees cooler, and vice versa. When you're leaving, all of that goes away. The alarm goes on, the door locks, the garage door closes, the shades shut down for privacy, the lights turn off or dim, So geofencing and the smart home technology would be used in that capacity where things happen based on your proximity to the things.
Okay, here's a question that I don't want to put you on the spot, but of all the remodeling that you do, what's the coolest toy that is affordable and that your clients really are into?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. The coolest kind of fun DIY toy is basically a light bulb set made by Philips, and it's called Hue, H-U-E. And they're just regular lights. They screw into your can lights in your house. They screw into lampshades. They're a sticking light bulb. But they also have a little hub that you connect to your Wi-Fi, and that allows your light bulbs to then be controlled from your phone. So you can set them on timers. They can change colors. They can rotate between colors. You can create custom colors. I have them in my house. And when I first got them, I was playing with them, and I went out in the backyard and I took a picture of some purple stem of some kale. I took that purple and I zoomed in on it with the app, and I created that color, and then I changed the lamp to that color. So not that there's any practical use for that, but it was really fun, right? But you can use these, and they're quite affordable, I think, and do a lot of the stuff I talked about. Set them on timers, use it for geofencing, or just play with the color of the light. And then I think if there was any other single thing that's easy, it's Amazon Echo. It's also on Wi-Fi. It's voice activated, and it will play your music. It'll read you the news. You can say, you can tell the device to read you the news, and it reads you the news. You could tell the device to play your favorite Dixie Chicks album, and it will, assuming it's either on Amazon or in your library somehow. And there's a lot of free music that it has access to. So 9 times out of 10, it can play whatever you want, even if you don't own it. But those, I think, are kind of my two favorites right now because they're easy.
Easy is better. I agree with you there.
I do. The last thing I want is all this technology that's too frustrating to figure out how to use, or when there's a problem, you're just sitting there in the dark and you got nothing to do.
Gotcha. Stephen, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. This was very informative and a great show.
Thank you for having me.